Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to have you here with me today. I am joined by Pickle, who just looks super cute, so I thought I would pop myself here and do a little intro to the video. I'm actually just really annoying him because I'm being really loud. Okay, so as you can tell by the title of this video, today I'm taking you along with me to meet with a financial advisor. Financial advice is something that not only I, but a lot of clients hold in very high importance, but they have a lot of anxiety around. I think especially as young people, young women, young female business owner, it is so important to talk about, but it's something that we feel blocked by for some reason. And I think from the people that I've spoken to, because I spoke to a couple of people before engaging with a financial advisor, I think a lot of the hesitation, worry and concern comes from actually not knowing what happens in a financial advisory meeting. And so for that reason, I wanted to bring you guys along with me so that you have insight into the process. Hopefully it'll break down some barriers and you feel one step closer to getting financial advice in a way that you feel comfortable, because that is the most important thing. And hopefully having an accountant speaking to a financial advisor will also be able to give you some insight into the wider topics surrounding financial advice. Okay, so before I bring you guys behind the scenes into the one-on-one face-to-face meeting with the financial advisor, it's really important to give you guys a little bit of background around what has happened to get to this point and what's happened so far. So step one in the process was that I reached out to my wonderful financial advisor, Chanel. She's somebody that I align with. She's somebody who is also a young woman in the finance space, and she's super passionate, super driven. I relate to her very well, and it just really felt like there was a good connection there straight away. And again, that's so important. So I reached out to Chanel and we had a little to and fro chat in the DMs. From there we had a sort of 30-minute phone call where we just chatted through a couple of bits and bobs to really map out and establish, firstly, that financial advice is what I needed as opposed to something else, and secondly, that we were a good fit and that we wanted to work together. From there, Chanel sent across a couple of documents for me to take a look at, which really mapped out the terms and conditions involved in engaging with a relationship with a financial advisor, which really sort of put me at ease. And sometimes it's actually really nice to know what's involved ahead of a meeting. So I really loved that. From there, I completed a fact find, which is sort of the boring bits, kind of the juicy bits. It really was asking me to complete some information about my income, my expenses, my assets and my liabilities. So that was the cold hard numbers covered off, which leaves the really fun, juicy, fluffy part of the work to now. So we're just going to sit down, have a conversation about financial planning, wealth management and financial advice, and I'm so excited to be able to take you with me behind the scenes to come and chat to my financial advisor, Chanel.
We always start with, what is it that brought you here today? Why did you want to speak to a financial advisor? What made you want to have this conversation?
For us, we've been running the business for 12 months now. Before that, we were in employment. Through employment, we contribute to pensions. We had, we knew how much money we were going to get each month. While we're in employment, our main financial goal was buying a house, but now we've done that. Since then, we've bought a second house, we've got tenants in it.
Amazing.
We bought a second house kind of as a pension pot, because as we're self-employed, we don't contribute to a pension, and so we wanted to use that house as a pension pot, so that's what we've done. Having a plan would be really motivating. I think when you're self-employed, it's quite difficult to plan things because you don't know how much money you're going to have. But if it actually there's annual or more frequent conversations, it's much easier to pinpoint what you want to do. We have goals, we have big financial goals, but they feel really far away. So
yeah, exactly. Having the 3-month meeting or the every other month meeting or the monthly meeting, whatever you would want to have, it keeps you accountable as well. That I find. So we'll talk about these sorts of things, and we'll talk about your hard facts and your income, your expenditure and your risk, and then they all come together to create a financial plan that we will work on together. So if I see you in 3 months time and something's changed, something's happened and you've gone a bit skew and you've gone off your plan, then we just make a plan to go back on the plan.
So how does financial planning differ for someone that's self-employed versus employed? Do you treat them differently?
No, we still cover all the same things, we still cover all the same areas, tax, pensions, investments, but everything will just be slightly different. So like you said, with people that are employed, We still talk about pensions, but it's going to be a different setup. You're self-employed, so we're definitely still going to talk about pensions, but it will be a slightly different conversation.
And like dividends, like there's been some years where we've been like, oh, like we can take way more dividend than we thought we were going to. Like,
yeah, and I think that's the good thing about doing it so regularly as well, is like you said, things can change so quickly, and as you know, very well, things change all the time. But yeah, so perfect. That tells me a bit more about why you came to a financial advisor, what you're looking for, which is a good place always to start. So talking a bit more about your relationship with money, what would you say is important to you about money?
we both value like capital way higher than cash. Not too bothered about cash, like as long as the mortgages are paid for, we don't have an immediate desire to like massively increase our quality of life or start going on holidays 4 times a year, or we really prioritise capital, like long-term wealth over cash. So
okay, and that's what you would say is important to you about. So your current financial position now, how would you describe it?
really positive, sometimes really confusing. I think as a business owner, sometimes you can feel like you know how the business is doing, knowing what is where, what is spendable, what you're taking through payroll, what you're taking through dividends. As someone that's self-employed, I don't pay tax as I go, I pay it annually, so like managing that situation is very important.
Definitely. And so based on what you just said, where would you say you want to get to? So thinking about all those things you just listed off, if you could see yourself getting to a perfect place in a year's time, what would that place be like?
I think know what I currently have and know what the plan is. I find that really motivating. Like me and James are both absolutely committed to like long-term wealth, not short-term cash. And sometimes when you don't, like up until this point it was save for a house, up until this point it was save for a rental property. Now we've like done those things, now we're like, so like I think actually having a plan, having like goals that aren't just have a wedding and a honeymoon are like would be cool.
Bigger. So obviously money comes into everything, every decision, like it's in there somewhere. So not just talking about purely finance, like when it comes to like the other part of your life, so it's what is the most important things for you and your family that you want to achieve in the future. So don't sort of think about just money, think about generally what do you want to achieve in the future for you and your family.
I literally think one of my biggest long-term goals is to like not have to worry about money. That's like my biggest long-term goal. When you run a business, like even when you get to the point where you're like things go really well, there's that constant thing of like, but what if it stops? I think as a young woman as well, I really want to get to the point where I have options when I decide to start a family. That's really important because my mum gave up her job to raise us, and that was a financial burden on our family, and I was always very like hyper aware of that. And for us, I love my job, but I think I'd also love a family, and I don't know how I'll feel until we get there as to like what I'd like to do. And I think being able to have the choice rather than the decision being made for me because of finances would be like that would be really cool.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you can plan for. That's something you can include in the plan, and whenever it gets to that point, we just predict a few different options and plan for all of them. Whichever one happens, we do it when we get to. We don't have to sort of like, I think that's another thing that comes into it massively. If you just plan for lots of different things, like although it's a plan, obviously not everything, life's going to change, not everything is going to go to plan, and we just adjust it accordingly as we move on. Things change because they do. If you think about when you're like 55, 65, what do you want life to look like? How do you see things if they could all go to plan at 55, 65?
55, I think I'd not be working like full time, and again like but would still have lots of revenue coming in. So like whether that comes from property or like passive income streams, or you know the business is still ticking along, but we're not actively involved in it anymore.
And I'm guessing that's obviously just going to carry on to 65, 75. You're going to want to carry on living that life. 100%. Okay, amazing.
What age do people retire now? Like, what's the normal answer to that question?
That is such a hard question to answer. So it totally varies. So at the moment, you can take your pension from 55, so you can't take it before that. Obviously, if you have other pots, which is something you can plan for, so other investments, property, like you say, you can use those other things to take an earlier retirement, because time you get to retirement, it's not going to be 55. Like, it's most likely going to be older than that before you can access your pension. You have like really quite a good understanding of what you want and what you see. And do you feel like having that conversation, do you think you like realise anything by having the conversation, saying it out loud? Or do you think it is everything that's been sat in your head and you know these things and you've been thinking about them?
I think when you are an accountant, you're so involved in money, it's almost difficult to make bad financial choices. I think, and I know that the points in my life that I've not made good financial choices. I've actually not been in a good headspace, and that's definitely really helped. Like, I'm in a good headspace, I make sound financial decisions, I'm not like impulsive, whereas I used to be when I was younger. I used to be like impulsive with money, and I would definitely, like, if I felt like lonely or something, I would spend a lot of money. And I think my life's so settled and calm now and so lovely, I don't feel the need to do that. I sort of like get the love I need through like not tangible objects. So when I said to someone at work that I was coming to speak to you, they said like, what do you do? And I was like, you know, pension, wealth management. And they said, oh, I don't have any wealth. Like, what's the minimum? Do you have like, because I've heard that financial advisors quite often have like minimum amounts of money, like you have to have like 50k sat in a bank in cash in order to be able to work with a financial advisor. Like, is that true?
Yeah, that is definitely is true, and there is I think quite a few out there that do have a minimum. I think 50 is pretty standard, but I have heard higher, like 100, 250, like quite big.
Just like sat in cash.
Yeah, well, sat in pensions that may be held elsewhere at the moment, or sat in investments that are held elsewhere at the moment, or some people obviously would just have it in the bank potentially. But no, I definitely don't have a minimum. It's not the case. I do have, like, obviously, I will only work with people that need my help. So for example, what I always say is, you're in a position where you need financial advice where your budgeting's in order, so you've got a good understanding what's coming in and out, you've got it all under control, it's all good. You've built your emergency fund, so say it's 3 to 6 months of expenditure, held in cash, sat in the bank for if you ever have that moment where you think, what do I do now? You've got that emergency fund and you're okay. And then if you're earning and every month you have some money left over and you're like, what do I do with this? And you want to do something, good with it, you want to start thinking about your future, preparing for your future, looking after your future you, that kind of thing, then I think that's an amazing time to actually go and speak to a financial advisor, a financial planner, and say, what can I do with this? You're more than worth a financial advisor at that point. It will really benefit you. The sooner you start, the better.
Yeah, what happens next?
Okay, amazing. So next, I go away and take everything we've talked about. So your goals, your objectives, all your income, expenditure, all those sorts of things, attitude to risk, and create a plan based off what you said, a financial plan, covering all the different areas, so pensions, tax, investments. Create that plan. We then meet again and sit and go through it together, because it's not the sort of thing I would give you and let you run on your own. We need to go through it together. I can answer any questions you have, and then we just move forward with that plan basically. So I will see you regularly and we'll work on the plan. If the plan suggests, for example, staying on pension, I go away and set up a pension for you. And then when we meet next time, you say to me, I want to put more money in my pension. And we just constantly keep reviewing the financial plan and moving forward and achieving your financial goals. Amazing!
Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but that was not as big, scary or dramatic as I thought it was going to be. I'm so privileged to be able to show you guys behind the scenes of chatting to a financial advisor. I said at the beginning, but I will say it again. I really wanted to map out and show you guys exactly what those really important conversations that young people should be having and are having look like, so that hopefully you guys will maybe feel a little bit more comfortable, less scared or less apprehensive in engaging in those conversations for yourself. I don't know why I always thought that speaking to a financial advisor would involve speaking to a middle-aged man in a suit in a stuffy office, where actually Chanelle came to my home, we had a cup of tea, and really we sort of made a financial vision board about what my goals are for the future, what's important to me, what keeps me up at night. And actually that was so special. It was such a wonderful experience, and I'm so happy I did it. Something that we actually didn't cover off in the video, but we spoke about actually as Chanelle was leaving, was sort of protecting yourself, not only as a business owner but as a spouse, as somebody that loves somebody else. And that's a whole extra piece which I would really encourage you to have open conversations about too. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really hope it's opened some doors and shut down some fear within your mind, and really encouraged you to confidently speak about your finances with a qualified financial advisor. If actually after today you think Chanelle would be that person for you, I will pop her details in the description of this video. We're not affiliated with Chanelle in any way. We're just two young, passionate women in the finance industry who absolutely love working with and supporting each other. Thank you again for spending some time with me today. I really, really appreciate it. I do a happy dance every single time I get a new subscriber, a new member of the family, and a new member of the Accountant She team. So I would love it if you hit subscribe so you get a notification next time I release a juicy video like this one. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would love to hear what you've got to say in the comments. Has this opened some doors for you? I love to hear from you. Thank you again for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you again very soon.